Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss a sonnet written by Matthew Arnold. The title of this sonnet is Shakespeare. This sonnet by Matthew Arnold was published in 1841. We all know that Matthew Arnold is a very great poet of Victorian age. Now, interestingly enough, Matthew Arnold is not simply a poet. He is also a very great critic. And he has given a very unique method of measuring poets and dramatists, and that method is known as touchstone method. Matthew Arnold is of the opinion that poetry should be the criticism of life. Matthew Arnold was born in 1822 and he departed from this world in 1888. The sonnet Shakespeare by Matthew Arnold appeared first in the volume The Strayed Reveller and Other Poems. Originally formed part of a letter Arnold wrote to his sister Jane in the year 1841. Arnold's sonnet on Shakespeare, along with that of Ben Jonson and Milton, remains one of the most glorious tributes paid to the Bard of Avon, that is Shakespeare. Ben Jonson's aphoristical statement, "He was not of an age, but for all times," rings like a bell. Milton's statement is equally pithy. "Thou, in our wonder and astonishment, hast built thyself a live-long monument." Shakespeare, the great character, the great dramatist, the great sonneteer, the great poet, about whom this sonnet was written by Matthew Arnold. Critics have praised this sonnet for its music, diction, and thought content. Arnold describes Shakespeare as a mysterious figure whom critics down through the ages fail to understand completely. Arnold wrote to Clow, emphasizing this aspect of Shakespeare. "I keep saying Shakespeare, Shakespeare, you are as obscure as life is." The greatness of Shakespeare is unfathomable, unmeasurable. The closing lines suggest how Shakespeare was able to overcome the misfortunes of life during the period when he was preoccupied with tragedy plays. The text of the sonnet Shakespeare. Now, although in the mind and heart of Matthew Arnold there was high regard for Shakespeare, but interestingly enough, in order to write this sonnet on Shakespeare, Matthew Arnold followed the Petrarchian format of sonnet. Now we all know that in Petrarchian format of sonnet, we have two quatrains and two tercet. So this is the first quatrain. "Others abide our question, thou art free." Now as a critic, as a writer, Matthew Arnold says that as far as other dramatists are concerned, other literary writers are concerned, other poets, other sonnetiers are concerned, we keep on asking them, we keep on scrutinizing them. But my dear Shakespeare, you are beyond our scrutiny. You are beyond our question. Others abide our question, thou art free. We ask and ask, thou smilest and art still. Now, the greatness of your literary output, the sublimity of your writing is so high, is so great, that many a time it perplexes us. And when we ask, when we try to ask, you simply pass a very mysterious smile and you are still. Out-topping knowledge. Now you are perhaps beyond the mortal knowledge. You are above everything. For the loftiest hill, you are just like a lofty hill, big hill, out-topping knowledge for the loftiest hill, who to the stars uncrown his majesty. Now, perhaps you are so lofty, you are so sublime that you have made the stars your companion. your comrade, because perhaps you reside somewhere in heaven, who to the stars uncrowns his majesty. Your majesty, your sublimity, your greatness is so high that for mortal human being it is difficult to understand. Planting his steadfast footsteps in the sea, making the heaven of heavens his dwelling place. Matthew Arnold says that Shakespeare is far beyond our comprehension and knowledge. It is very difficult for a mortal human being to understand him. Shakespeare is the highest mountain that rises sublimely into the starry areas of sky. The mortal human beings can see only up to the place where cloud surrounds its lower heights. Shakespeare, in fact, dwells with the stars and sunlights at a great height. Now, planting his steadfast footsteps in the sea. Now, Shakespeare is just like a very lofty mountain. Now, the footstep of that mountain is situated somewhere in the sea, whereas the head is in the heaven of heaven, making the heaven of heavens his dwelling place. Spares but the cloudy borders of his base to foiled searching of mortality. Now, we as a critic, we as a reader who are mortal in nature, now if we try to search for meaning, for understanding, for comprehension, you just befool us by your cloudy borders. Now, for mortal human being, they can rise up to the cloudy borders of that lofty mountains only. Whereas in reality, you are so mammoth, you are so high, you are so lofty, you are so sublime that it is next to impossible for a mortal human being, for a critic, for a reader, for a writer to understand you. Matthew Arnold, who is trying to scrutinize the greatness, the sublimity of Shakespeare. And thou who didst the stars and sunbeams know, now because you resides in heaven of heavens, your head is somewhere in the heaven. So stars and sunbeams are your comrade, are your companion. Sunbeam means divine knowledge, and stars is symbolical of divine imagination. So Shakespeare, you have used divine knowledge and divine imagination in your writing. Perhaps it is because of your presence in heaven of heavens. Your presence is somewhere in the heaven. Self-schooled, because you are self-educated. You have never been to a formal school. So you are self-schooled, self-scanned, self-honored, self-secure. Now these are compound words. Self-schooled, self-scanned. Nobody can scrutinize you. You are so sublime. Your depth is so deep that nobody can try to scan you. Only you can scan yourself. You are self-scanned, self-honored. Unfortunately, your contemporary have not given you due honor which you deserved, but you hardly bother about such things because you are self-honored, you are self-secure. You never become insecure by your contemporary writer because you know the sublimity of your writing, your unfathomable depth of your writing. Didst tread on earth ungazed at, Literacy. Now, as long as you were alive on this earth, and even after your demise, after your death, nobody can guess about your sublimity, about your depth, about your magnanimity. because you are perhaps beyond the guess of mortal human being. All pains the immortal spirit must endure. All weaknesses which impairs, all griefs which bow, find their sole speech in that victorious brow. Matthew Arnold says that Shakespeare pictured sufferings and sorrows of human beings without collapsing under its strain. Shakespeare's immortal spirit came out victorious, came out triumphant. Shakespeare is a true genius. Shakespeare is beyond human comprehension, human knowledge. All pains and immortal spirit must endure. Author says that perhaps Shakespeare was under duress, under suffering, under pain, and because of that, he was successful in writing some of the most popular tragedies he has written. All weakness which impairs, all griefs which bow. Now, perhaps he was under tremendous grief, tremendous problems, but he never let himself overpowered by the grief, the problem which was around him. And instead, he used those problems, those impediments, those griefs in order to write the sublime dramas of his, sublime plays of his, find their sole speech in that victorious brow. So finally, he emerged triumphant, he emerged victorious because his immortal spirit came out finally victorious and triumphant. The sonnet, a poem consisting of 14 lines, is of Italian origin. Petrarch is said to be the originator of this form. Now, as I said, that although this sonnet has been written in order to highlight the greatness, the sublimity of Shakespeare, but Matthew Arnold has not followed the Shakespearean pattern of sonnet. Instead, he has followed the Petrarchian format of sonnet. Both Petrarch and Shakespearean types of sonnets were composed by later English poets. The Petrarchian sonnets is divided into two stanzas, the octave and sestet. The octave is still divided into two substanzas of 4 lines and the sestet into 3 lines. So two quatrains and two tercet. This sonnet of Arnold mainly follows the Petrarchian pattern. Arnold uses the rhyme pattern ABBA, ACCA, DED, EFF, more or less Shakespearean. So this is all about this beautiful video. Thank you very much.